right, well, let's go back right now to our Caitlin Huey-Burns, who has Senator Bernie Sanders now standing by there in the spin room. Caitlin.
Hi, Elaine. Yes, Bernie Sanders here with me. Senator, how do you think you did tonight?
I think we did really good. I think the issues that we talked about are perhaps the most important issues that we face as a country. Healthcare, in my view, is a human right. We cannot continue to be the only major country not to guarantee healthcare to all. The pharmaceutical industry is ripping us off. We've got to lower prescription drug prices by half. We have got to cancel student debt in this country, which is just bogging down and destroying an entire generation of young people. If we could bail out Wall Street for trillions of dollars, you know what? We can cancel student debt in this country. That's the points I try to make. Hope I made it okay.
Senator, a lot of the issues you were talking about in 2016, healthcare, student debt, the economy, are now mainstream in the Democratic Party. But do you still think that you are the leader on those ideas, or are you concerned that other candidates in this race have taken over that mantle?
I'm not concerned. I'm delighted, because you're quite right. 4 years ago, everyone said, Bernie, you're a nice guy, but you're crazy. Healthcare is a human right. Raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour, making public colleges and universities tuition-free, student debt issue. And now, virtually all of the candidates are adopting those positions. So I'm pretty proud of that. That means we've helped transform the political debate in America. And many of those ideas, by the way, $15 an hour minimum wage is going to be voted on in a couple of weeks in the House, and I think it will pass. 7 states have already done it. So we're making real progress. But I think at the end of the day, why I have decided that I'm going to vote for me. I think I'm the best candidate.
You are.
It took a lot of thought, because you got a lot of good people, and I'm going to vote for me. Trying to convince my wife of doing the same. Huh? She's a harder sell, but and the reason is that nothing real will change in this country. We don't talk about it on media. You're not going to talk about it on CBS. We don't talk about it in Congress. And that is, we have to recognize that the reason the rich are getting much richer, while the middle class continues to struggle, and why we're the only major country not to have health care for all, is the power of a corporate elite that has unbelievable influence over the economic and political life of this country. If we are not prepared to take on the fossil fuel industry frontally through a mass movement of people, we are not going to solve the climate crisis, and I worry about the future of this planet. If we're not prepared to take on the drug companies and the insurance companies, we're never going to lower the cost of prescription drugs, and we will still be the only major country not to guarantee health care at all. So that is the point. And I believe the American people understand that. They are prepared to stand up and fight. I think I'm the candidate to lead that effort.
And just quickly, you were at center stage tonight with Joe Biden. You have been very critical of his policies. You did draw some contrast with him tonight. What was the impact of that? And do you think that Joe Biden is a leader in this party?
Well, look, Joe is a friend of mine, and I worked with him when he was vice president under President Obama. Joe voted for the war in Iraq. I helped lead the opposition to that war. Joe voted for some terrible trade agreements, permanent normal trade relations with China, NAFTA as well. I voted against those agreements. Joe voted to deregulate Wall Street, which in my view ended up leading to the worst economic recession in modern history. I voted against that. I voted against the bailout. So, Joe's record is different than mine, and I think it's appropriate to make that point.
What do you say to voters who are calling for a fresh face, a new generation to take charge within the party?
Look, I think that what is most important is we look at the totality of the candidate. What is that candidate's record? What is that candidate's experience? What does that candidate believe in? No one simply thinks that because somebody is young or somebody is old, that should define that person. I think what most people want to be voting for is, what do you stand for? What are you going to do for my life? Are you going to guarantee health care to all? Are you going to take on the drug companies and lower the cost of prescription drugs? I think that's kind of what people are looking at.
Senator, thank you so much for being with us. Appreciate it. Good to see you.
Do I have your mic?
Elaine, back to you.
Okay, good.
Thank you so much there in the spin room in Miami with Senator Bernie Sanders. All right, so let's get some reaction here to what we just heard from the senator. Leslie, you want to kick us off?
The interesting part, especially in the context of the last two nights, is when you hear Bernie talking about corporate greed, taking on Wall Street, taking on the drug companies, the insurance companies. There's a lot of Republicans that are nodding their heads, saying exactly. I mean, they fundamentally we can agree on those things. That there is an abuse in many ways. There isn't this big need now if you just. There's a positive, obviously, to deregulation, but there's also with this cautious eye to have the protection. That balance is necessary. Sure. But the extreme on either side. So it's funny. I'm here agreeing with many of those measures, but those are the types of exactly. Let's write this moment down. Those are the kinds of measures where I think the Democrats can gain the biggest ground among some of those disaffected Democrats or independents. It's not on the extreme of that when you're talking about let's have health care for everyone, including undocumented immigrants, because that crosses a line when you think of that there's been 3.2 million more individuals who now no longer have health insurance after 2017, that number is ticking up. So when someone hears that, they're going, wow, you're talking about taking care. That's the America First argument of Donald Trump. Well, wait a minute. You're talking about putting people who are rushing to the emergency rooms and all that. We can make the economic case for wellness.
Which is essentially his tweet that he tweeted out over the course of the debate.
It's an open and shut case that people want to look out for their own in terms of U.S. citizens before they're going to look at extending taxpayer benefits across the board. It's been an issue with DACA. Federal financial aid. Once you allow citizenship or legalization, are you going to allow federal financial aid? So that's the slippery slope.
All right, we have to go.